Welcome to Session 4. We'll be cracking the code to a deeper connection by having a couple talk. In previous sessions, you learned the fundamental roles in couple talk, and they work together for that deeper connection.
It's important to remember those two roles because you'll be using them in a couple talk. In the first session, Trading Places, you learned the importance of empathy, trading places with your partner, seeing things from their point of view, feeling things from their point of view. In the second session, Listening Fully, you learned about listening with empathy. So it's not just about repeating words back or focusing on facts, it's about really listening with empathy to feel their feelings and putting yourself in their place as you listen to your partner. And that is the most powerful form of listening.
This session will put expressing yourself and listening with empathy together to have a new kind of conversation. We like the quote that says, most conversations are simply monologues delivered in the presence of witnesses. And that's true sometimes, too many times. Often a conversation is two people that are both talking and neither one is listening. Just two separate monologues, each trying to make their point, trying to persuade the other. It can be different. It can be a real dialogue, leaving you feeling understood, and the same for your partner. So in this session, we'll tell you how to have this new kind of conversation, a couple talk, and you'll get to experience it. Couple talk uses expression and listening with empathy to have a dialogue without it disintegrating into a fight or tuning each other out or having the same old conversations that go nowhere.
In the Bible, James says, everyone should be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And having a couple talk helps us to be quicker to hear. And that's the listening with empathy part. It helps us to be slower to speak, more carefully, and that's the expressing yourself part. And it helps reduce misunderstandings, the overreactions, and the anger that can come. And then it also increases our closeness. All the good feelings that come from feeling accepted and validated and really understood.
So we've been mentioning feelings and assigning you to identify them. Let's explore this more deeply. In your workbook, turn to feelings, an important part of who we are. And we're not advocating that you make decisions based only on feelings or base your behavior only on feelings. But instead, what we want you to do is acknowledge your feelings and understand how your feelings influence you. Let's take a look at the biblical personality David. David was a warrior, led the Israeli army. He was the king of the nation. When he was a shepherd boy, Scripture says he killed a lion and a bear with his bare hands in defense of his flock. In the Scripture, it says that David had fine appearance and was handsome, had handsome features. And most important of all, David was described as a man after God's own heart. So this is a man's man. This guy's not a wimp. This is the kind of a man that I suppose that any of us men would like to be like. Yet listen to David express strong emotion that he felt toward others and to God. In the Psalms, he wrote, "All night long I flood my bed with weeping, and I'm losing all hope. I'm paralyzed with fear." And in another place, "Let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them sing joyful praises forever." Now, some of you are less comfortable expressing feelings. Might be just your natural temperament, might be the family that you grew up in. In some families, we learn the unwritten rule, don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. Often that's the case in families where addictions play a part. So we've learned to suppress feelings and avoid them. But as humans, we are complex creatures. We're intellectual, we have a cognitive capacity, we're physical, of course, we are spiritual, and we are emotional creatures. We're made that way by God. Now, you wouldn't want to stifle the mental part of yourself, would you? No. Or the physical or spiritual. In the same way, we shouldn't want to suppress the emotional part of us, although some of us have been taught to do that. We want you to be yourself. Some people are naturally more emotional and some are less emotional. But all of us have emotions. The coaching here is to get in touch with your feelings, whatever they are, and be the full person that you are intended to be. Having couple talks will help you to understand your feelings and your partner's feelings in a safe, gradual way.
So let's turn to the guidelines for having a couple talk. There's a preparation step, and that is to agree on a time and place to have a couple talk. A time and place. So this needs to be a time and place to talk without interruptions. Good dialogues, they just cannot happen when you can't concentrate on them. So what can I do? I can say, I'd like to have a chance to have a talk with you. Is there a good time for you later tonight? So I need to approach him and ask for that. We need to both agree on a time and place. If it's a good time for me, it may not be a good time for him, so that means it's not going to happen maybe when I want it to happen, but we both need to agree, and then that's the time that we set to have the couple talk. So you need to turn off the TV, plan to turn off all the technology, get the kids to bed, all of those things that you need to do to have this kind of focused talk.
Then when you're ready to talk, guideline 1 says one person begins to express thoughts, feelings, concerns, and desires. Usually the person that asks for the couple talk, or the one with the strongest emotions, begins expressing. And listening is hard work, so if your partner's emotions are high, help them to feel understood first, and that will help to calm them and be a much more likely scenario to have a positive outcome. Guideline 2, the other person listens and summarizes with empathy. And the rule is that whenever one person is expressing, the other person is the listener. It's not passive listening. Instead, listening with empathy is focused listening, followed by summarizing back your partner's feelings, concerns, thoughts, and desires. As the listener, you'll be talking, but not about yourself. You'll be saying things like, as my partner's name, I feel this, I think that, I want such and such. And there are some rules. Don't interrupt. Don't ask questions. Don't offer sympathy or give your own point of view. Listening in this way will help your partner open up and express themselves in ways that are safe and helpful. And it'll also help your partner be fully open to listen to you when it's your turn to express.
Now we're going to give you an experience of having a couple talk, where one person will express and the other one will listen and summarize with empathy. And midway through, you will trade places and switch roles, and the person who had been expressing themselves becomes the listener, and the listener will now express themselves. And the exercise in your workbook is called A Time for Us.
The purpose of this exercise is to practice a couple talk in a structured format. So together, we want you to agree on a topic to use for this couple talk. It should be a positive topic, an activity that each of you is willing to consider adding to your relationship. You may have brought a topic with you that each of you have agreed upon, or you may have to narrow it down just now. Some potential ideas are listed in your workbook. Examples are an athletic activity, church activity, leisure time, hobby, something you might want to do with friends, getting a pet, whatever. It's up to you to choose it together, but we want you to choose something that would add enhancement to your relationship and you both see as a positive. So take 1 minute and talk together and select your topic, and then we're going to head into the exercise.
take time now to choose your topic.
Okay, you all have a topic? Everybody got their topic chosen? Okay. Now we want you to follow the set of prompts and express yourself in around 30-second chunks, letting your partner summarize back to you with empathy each time. Also, a nonverbal inch signal if your partner goes too long and you're flooding and you won't remember all that you want to say back. And your partner can stop at that moment and you'll have a chance to empathize, and then after you've done that, they'll continue to talk.
So if Don were talking and he was kind of going on longer than I could manage to remember, I could just give him that little signal and he'll stop. And I'll listen and summarize with empathy, and then he continues expressing himself.
The person who proposed the topic will begin, and they talk from their own point of view, and the partner begins as listener. So the expressor says, I'd like us to consider doing blank, whatever you've chosen to talk about.
Then the listener will summarize with empathy. As Don, I'm proposing that we do such and such. So we will demonstrate the steps along the way with a topic we have been doing as an enhancement activity for the two of us. These are the Ferraro quintuplets and their older sister Gianna. That's Gabby and Riley and Addie and Cooper and Emmy. And we started babysitting them when they were about a month old. And
their name spells Grace.
Their names together, G-R-A-C-E.
Yeah.
The mom figures whenever she calls Grace out, they'll all come running. That's what she's hoping. So call us crazy, but that's what we decided to do about 4 or 5 months ago on a regular basis. I was the one who had proposed it, and Don was open to discussing it. So we are going to demonstrate using that topic for you, okay? I'd like to propose volunteering as one of the helpers with the Ferraro quintuplets on a regular basis.
So as Alex, I think I'd like to suggest that we volunteer and help out with childcare for the quintuplets.
Now, a thought I have about it is that it's part of being a part of the community. They belong to our church, and I think it's a good thing for us to help out a family in need.
So as Alex, a thought I have about it is that this is a family that is overwhelmed and they have a lot of needs, and they're part of our church, and that this could be a good act of service for us to do together.
Some feelings I have about it are that I'm nervous taking care of preemies, so that's going to be something I have to manage.
As Alex, some feelings I have about this are I'm a little nervous about taking care of premature babies, so that's kind of scary.
So a concern I have is about making a commitment and not following through. If that happened, I'd feel embarrassed, I'd feel bad.
So one concern I have as Alex is that we would make a commitment to taking care of the kids and then not be able to keep it. It would let them down, and it would be embarrassing for us.
So my desire is that we could figure out a way to make a commitment that we both could feel good about and follow through on.
So my desire is that we could choose to take care of these babies and make a commitment that is something we could follow through with and keep and do together.
And now I'm going to give Dawn a turn to be the expressor. So I say, I'd like to hear from you now. And now we aren't going to do the switching of seats anymore. What we're going to do is just give him the role now of expressing himself.
Well, my thoughts about your suggestion is I think that's doable. I think that could be something really wonderful to do.
So as Don, I think this is a good idea. It's something we could do, and I like it. I like the idea.
And I feel excited to think about doing that. You're right. I love messing with babies, and it'll be great fun to play with 5 of them at once. That'll be incredible. And I like the idea of doing that together with you, too. I think that could be really sweet.
So as Don, I love babies, so this is like a slam dunk for me. I really love the idea of being around all these babies, and having you a part of it, I would really enjoy too.
A concern I have about doing this is our schedule and the time we have available.
So a concern, as Don, a concern that I have is overcommitting.
So that was an opportunity for you to see a couple talk where Alex started as the expressor, and it was my job to give empathy to her, and then we traded roles, and I became the expressor and she gave empathy to me. And we were able to talk about this enhancement topic that we've since been doing and really loving it.
And I do want to say that we condensed that when you do this now, you'll be doing this, you'll probably talk a little bit longer, and then your listening and summarizing back with empathy will go a little bit longer also.
So it's your turn to practice. We want you to take your chairs, turn them so that you guys are able to sit facing each other knee to knee. We'll let you know when we're halfway through the exercise. We'll also let you know with a signal when there's a minute left. And the music will come up when it's time to join back together as a group. Ready? Go.
Turn your chairs so you're knee to knee with your partner and begin the exercise. halfway there. Start wrapping it up. There's 1 minute remaining. Time to return to the group. Don and Alex are getting ready to start up again.
Do a quick check-in with you. How'd it go? Were you able to keep the roles straight? How was that for you?
No, it was really very easy. I thought it was going to be more difficult, but I found it relatively easy following the prompts. Because I wouldn't have thought to say, oh, my desire, my concern, but because they were there, I realized I had some.
Good, great.
And I feel kind of the opposite way. I guess having the outline, it was overwhelming to have to think about each step. And I was just like processing so much in my head while I was even trying to express what I was saying and listening to what they were saying. I just felt like, oh, I have to make sure I hit all these points. So for me, it was just a little overwhelming to do it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be that way in the beginning because there's so much work you're doing. You're when it's your turn to express, you're having to kind of filter that through all the guidelines for expressing yourself and not use any trigger words. And then when it's your turn to listen with empathy, some of us who are talkers have a lot of work to do in building that muscle of listening, and there's so much going on because our mind drags us back to our own thoughts or opinions, and then we have to go back and focus in on our partner and get back to what they were saying. So it can be really overwhelming at first, but with practice it really will get easier and easier.
Now you've identified some thoughts, feelings, concerns, and desires in that exercise, and you each had a chance in both roles. Now we want to teach how to switch roles in a fluid way, nice and easy. And there are several reasons for this. One reason is so that your dialogues will go deeper. Turn your workbook to the falling leaf diagram. You'll see two experience diagrams on the page representing two different people in conversation. And at the top, you'll see thoughts and some surface feelings. Dialogues gradually deepen, and as you go deeper, the feelings become deeper and you get into the area of concerns and desires. And as you go back and forth, naming what you hear from your partner and reading between the lines, you go a little deeper. And as you go a little deeper, your partner who's expressing realizes something new or has some self-discovery, and they go a little deeper coming back. And it goes like that, kind of like a leaf that's falling gently, slowly to the ground, back and forth. And that's what we want to illustrate with that diagram, is using the couple talk process, because it's safe, you're able to help each other to understand yourselves and each other in a much deeper way.
For example, in our couple talk about volunteering with the quintuplets, I discovered some deeper feelings in me. We have 3 adult children, but we have no grandchildren in the foreseeable future, and that's sad to me, and that's a part of why I think I really want to be in these children's lives. So I didn't know that. I was the one who had proposed the topic, but I didn't know it, and as we were talking and I was being listened to, that came out.
And it was in a class. We were up in front of a group and doing a demonstration. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the idea. With being able to switch roles in a fluid way, that helps you be able to listen and understand each other, and little by little you work your way down to deeper feelings.
So there is a way to switch roles informally. When you're ready, you can give up your role as expressor and become the listener. Or if you're the listener and you want a turn to express yourself, you can ask for a turn. And there's a system to do it. But sometimes it's difficult to remember who's who. We've got a way to help you do that. Help you remember who's the expressor and who is listening with empathy. In Native American culture, this is a replica of a talking stick. And the talking stick was used in the tribal council to determine who it was that had the right to speak. If you didn't have the stick, you weren't allowed to talk.
So if I have the talking stick and I'm the expressor, it's all about me. I am talking about my point of view, my thoughts and feelings. Don is going to be listening, and then he starts summarizing back with empathy. And he does not get the stick because it's all about me. He has become me, so he is talking about my point of view, my thoughts, and my feelings. So I keep holding the stick because it's about me and what I've been expressing. Even though he's saying things, I am the one holding the stick because I was the one who was expressing. Okay?
So the stick actually designates who is in the role of expressor. And in this session, we're going to ask you just to use a pen. So turn in your workbook to Guideline 3. From time to time, switch roles to move the couple talk along. So there are 2 ways to switch roles. One is the expressor offers to switch roles. As the expressor, you offer to trade places after your partner has listened with empathy, and when you feel understood and you're ready to hear from your partner. You can offer to hear from them.
Right. And another way to switch roles is the listener can request a turn to express themselves. So right now I am the expressor, and Don, if he were asking to have a turn to express himself, he can do that. First, he has to listen with empathy and summarize back with empathy to the last thing that I have said, and then he can ask for a turn, show them the signal that we have. So just a nonverbal signal real quickly says to me, you know, he has been doing the job of listening with empathy and he'd like a turn to express now. And there's several reasons why he might want to ask for a turn. Maybe he's confused and he wants to ask a question. Maybe while we're talking, he is starting to have some feelings that are too strong to keep him in a good attitude of listening, and he needs to get some things out and express himself. Perhaps he has an idea that he wants me to hear. So, for instance, if Don were talking about our bills or something, and he was talking about a bill that he was really upset about because it wasn't paid yet, but you know, and he's upset, and I'm listening with empathy. I still have to listen with empathy to that, but I know that I paid that bill. It's fair of me to ask for a turn. So I would listen with empathy and say, as Don, I'm really upset about that bill that's not paid. I wanted you to know I did pay the bill. I did it this morning.
Oh, good.
Well, he has to listen with empathy to me now too, but he would feel a lot of relief.
So I need a couple to model this up front. I'd like to ask for a volunteer couple to come up, and I'll sit with you and coach you through the process, and we'll demonstrate how the roles get changed in a couple talk. Thank you, Jarrell and Tia, for volunteering to do this demonstration.
You're welcome.
So you have a topic you've agreed on?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And who is it that had the idea for this topic?
I did. I
You
brought
did?
it up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going to be the expressor. You'll be listening with empathy to start with. And why don't you use this for an expression stick to
Okay.
designate that you are the expressor. And this will be kind of wide open. I'll give you a little starting prompt, but after that it'll just be the two of you talking about whatever you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay? So start off by saying, I'd like to have us consider.
Okay. So I'd like to consider having a walk around the neighborhood, maybe once or twice a week, just so that we can decompress and kind of talk, and even for our health, being able to add that to our routine, and just kind of connect with each other, because our schedules get so hectic that we kind of forget to come together, and I think adding that to our schedule would kind of force us to do that in a good way, creating that healthy habit.
I, as Tia, feel like it would be a good activity for us to come together at least maybe once or twice a week, where we can really develop our physical and mental and emotional kind of connection by going on a walk together, and just to get away and break away from our normal hectic everyday schedules and to spend that one-on-one time together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thank him for talking, and say I'd like to hear from you now, and offer him the stick.
Well, I'd like to know how you feel about it and like to hear more from you, so here is the expression stick.
Thank you. Actually, this whole concept I really think is a great idea. I totally agree with you that it's important for us to come together and have an activity or something that we both agree on.
As Jarrell, I definitely agree with you. I think this can be good on so many levels. It will be good to set aside time to talk with each other, to walk not only for our emotions, but for our health.
One concern I think that I would have is just because in the past there's been a lot of things maybe we've tried to implement into our daily lives, and we get to a point where if we're not consistent with it, it can kind of fade away and become an afterthought.
As Jarrell, I do have a concern. In the past, we have committed to different things, and sometimes we kind of get out of that routine because we let things get in the way, and I just don't want that to happen with this.
Tell her what it would mean to you and what it would feel like if you're able to do this together.
Well, if we were able to do this together, it would mean a lot to me, because it would show me that we're both committed to being good stewards of our bodies and following through with being healthy and doing the things that will take us on that healthy course.
And I would feel?
and I would feel excited about what it will mean for our future moving forward. And it would definitely make me happy to know that we're on the same page together in this walk and in this marriage.
As Jarrell, it would make me very happy to do this with you. I would feel very excited to move forward and to continue growing in our marriage, because this is something that we've committed to. It's very important to us. So this is something that I'm looking forward to doing with you.
Ask for the stick so you can tell them what it would mean to you. You know how to do that? Yeah, good.
Thank you. And it would actually mean a lot to me too, because like I said before, I do miss you, and it's hard for me to schedule time when there's no schedule, when we don't know. So I think the points that you brought up were really good, and I just feel very validated. I feel like you understand me and that you care enough about my needs and our needs in our marriage in order to do this and to be committed to moving forward with this plan. And I really appreciate you listening to me and truly hearing my desires and moving forward with it.
As Tia, I'm thankful that you bring up the points that you do. I feel it means a lot to me that you care about our relationship and you're willing to make the commitment to me and to do these things that will be healthy for us and help us to move forward in our future. And that you recognize that I miss you and that spending time with you is very important, and that we need to make that a focus in our walk together.
Beautiful. Let's stop right there. You did a great job of illustrating what we wanted to show the group, and you did a couple talk. You were taking turns as the expressor or the person empathizing, and you showed different ways to exchange roles. One time, or several times actually, you offered the expression stick, and there were several times where there was a request for it using the nonverbal signal. And it was a fine example. Thank you both for doing it.
Thank you for your coaching. You made it a lot easier than it was on our own.
A lot of help.
Okay, good. All right, you can head on back to your seats then. Thanks.
Now it's time to practice this yourselves. What you'll do is continue talking about the topic you were talking about. But we want you to have a chance to practice switching roles with the expression stick. So as you're talking, if you're using the expression stick after your partner listens with empathy to you, go ahead and offer them the stick. Or as you're listening with empathy and you're finishing your statement that you're saying, summarizing with empathy, go ahead and use the nonverbal signal and ask for a turn to have the stick and express yourselves. So we'd like you to think about naming some more concerns about this topic. Have you really talked about all the concerns? If you're adding something to your relationship, what will you be giving up? Is it going to cost you some money? Where will the money come from? Is it going to cost you some time? Where is that time going to come from? So think about these kinds of things, because if you're taking this seriously, adding this into your relationship, there may be more to think about and to talk about. So that's what we would like you to do. And what we'd like you to do is, as we always ask, turn knee to knee and begin that way, talking knee to knee with each other.
And we'll give you notice when it's about halfway done, and we'll let you know when there's a minute left, and the music will come up when it's time to regroup. Ready, go.
Get knee to knee with each other and start the exercise. You're halfway done. You've got just 1 more minute. Turn back toward Don and Alex. They're getting ready to start up again.
I'd like you to turn in your workbook and look over those 4 images and reflect on what the process was like for you to do this listening with empathy and expressing yourselves and switching roles. And just look at those images and circle the image that resonates the most with your experience with your first couple talk. Not so much about your topic, but about the process of doing the communication skills that you were using.
So take a minute for that just now.
Look at your workbook and mark the debrief on your own.
Okay, we'd like to hear from you now. What did you circle and why? Andy.
Yeah, I picked the palm tree because I felt like the more we got into conversation, the more we went back and forth, the more we're on the same page and we really felt understood. And it made it a wonderful conversation to have.
So kind of like the peaceful beach scene, you know, there was something good about that. Yeah, good.
I know for us, we both chose the puzzle piece because it felt like every time we went in one direction, we stopped and like went in another direction and then stopped and went in another direction. So it kind of felt like a maze that we were kind of going around and trying to find a destination, but just kept hitting roadblocks and had to back up. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it can feel like that. This is your first experience with it. So figuring out all of those processes, the who has what, who am I, all of those things really make it actually very complex. And so it can feel like that confusion, that where are we heading with this? Yeah.
Who else?
I actually circled both the maze and the party because we did experience those difficulties of navigating our way through the conversation, and we got backed up and had to we stopped and then we had to back up, but at the same time I enjoyed doing it with her, and I feel like we had a good time. We enjoyed ourselves throughout.
Yeah, good.
So a question that we often get is, do we really have to use this stick from now on every time we're talking to each other? And the answer is no, because it would sound like
Hey, Alex, pass the salt.
as Don, I feel a need for saltiness.
Yeah, well, just pass the salt. Yeah.
As Don, I'm feeling a strong need for saltiness.
Just pass the salt.
I'm feeling frustrated as I'm asking for the salt. So we're not saying that. We're not saying that from now on, every time you're talking to each other, that you have to use the stick. But what we're doing is getting you equipped for handling conflict. Because we've asked you to talk about an enhancement issue, an activity that would have add some fun or enhancement to your relationship. And we're asking you to do that kind of a topic so you can learn these roles and the switching of roles better. So you're better equipped for when conflict comes.
Now, take just a minute and compare your picture that you chose with the one that your partner chose and talk about why you chose the one you chose. Just 1 minute. Go.
Go ahead and talk to your partner.
Okay, got to bring you back.
We've been talking about cracking the code to a deeper connection by having a couple talk. So turn in your workbook and let's just quickly review the guidelines. First, you have to make an appointment. Both of you have to agree on that time and place to have the couple talk. And then one person begins expressing their point of view, their thoughts and feelings. The other person listens and summarizes with empathy. And then you have a chance to switch roles. You switch roles by the expressor offering the expression stick to their partner after their partner has listened with empathy to them. Or if you're in the role of the listener and you want a turn to speak, to express yourself, you do your nonverbal signal and you ask for a turn to speak. So those are the guidelines. But the question is, can this help us in everyday life? Number one, you don't have to have a formal couple talk every time. But let's think about the way you express yourself. Shouldn't that be a full-time, 24/7, skillful expression of yourself? So remember that as you go out and go about your everyday life, you should be trying to express yourself skillfully, using those I messages, avoiding trigger words, including all those positives that you think of and can think of about your partner's point of view and about them. And then also, another thing you can do is occasionally focus on listening with empathy to your partner and use that you form, that more natural you form you've been doing in your partner appreciations. So if your partner comes home from a tough day at work, decide, I'm going to be the empathizer. I'm going to listen with empathy and summarize back. Just fall into that naturally. And as you express yourself and listen with empathy, both of you, in those ways, what will happen is that falling leaf will happen in your relationship, and you'll deepen that connection between the two of you.
Now, some have said that their experience felt awkward, and that's because it's still new. You haven't had a lot of time to practice these skills yet. Just like the first time you were riding a bike, you didn't feel like you were an expert, right? You wobbled down the road and felt very awkward about it. But it was the practicing that made a difference to where you were able to ride easily. So, a few points about practicing. If you don't practice these skills, you won't build the habits and you'll forget the skills. Practicing is very important if you're practicing correctly. And research shows that if you practice in only one place, then you will associate using those skills with that one place and not in other places. And we want you to use these skills at home, doing these skills as homework. So we're encouraging you again to do the short Making It Real assignments in your workbook. Okay, we'd like to do a couples prayer exercise like we did in the previous session. So if you'd like to sit close to each other, hold hands if you'd like. I'll give the prompts and you'll pray silently together after I give the prompts. All right? Let's pray. Ask God to help you set aside yourself while you listen. Ask God to help you grow closer to each other. Ask Him to help you grow closer in your relationship to Him. Lord, we're on this journey of learning skills, trying to overcome bad habits, change those habits into things that are pleasing to you. We ask for your touch, your support, and your help as we work to improve the way we communicate. In Jesus' name, amen. So for our final exercise, we'd like for you to do a partner appreciation. You know how this goes by now, right? You're going to tell each other something that you appreciate, and you'll summarize back using the you form. So go ahead and turn your chairs together, facing knee to knee, and give each other an appreciation. Ready? Go.
Turn knee to knee with your partner and start the exercise. "1 minute remaining. Time's up. Excellent job. Let's turn back towards Dawn and Alex.
Okay, we need to bring you back. And this completes session 4, having a couple talk.
And next session, we will end part 1, cracking the code to a deeper connection, by talking about growing as a team.
We'll see you next session.